Bill went over the handlebars. Pupils are good, no loss of consciousness, strong pulse.
This is a young kid who's been sitting in pain for a couple of hours, so we want to get there as fast as we can.
We're pushing the envelope because we were very concerned with him being hypothermic.
Hey Trevor, my name's Anthony. I'm with Teton County Search and Rescue. What's your pain level between 1 and a 10? Is it 10? Okay, good to know. We have limited information. There's a possibility of an open or closed fracture. We're just gonna roll him over on his back, okay? And this is gonna hurt.
There's no doubting the allure of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's drawn the most daring among us since the days of the mountain men. These high peaks, rushing rivers, and rare wildlife inspire adventures that can continue to push even the hardiest souls to the brink. In America's ongoing showdown between people and mountains, this is center stage. This is Jackson Hole Backcountry, a vast wilderness that spreads across Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks. This is where locals and the hordes of visitors come to test themselves. Out here, there's little room for error. In fact, it takes a local's knowledge to survive the worst the Tetons can throw at you. There are no shortcuts, just lifelong experience. Bottled up inside veteran Teton County search and rescue volunteers like Phil Tucker, who goes by the nickname Flip.
Oh, big guy. As far as my team goes, I'm probably the biggest hillbilly on the team, and I'm sure a lot of the guys and gals would agree to that. People look at me in the trucks I drive. I don't have a Prius. I don't have one of those. So you can see my sweatshirt. I'm all about Wyoming. From the time I was 9 years old, my folks took me in the mountains on horseback. This is what we did for fun. By doing that, you know a lot of territory. You've seen a lot of things. And that's, I guess, what I mean by being a hillbilly.
With his bow and his horse, Flip prowls the backcountry, looking for new spots to set up his annual elk camp. All that time in the saddle gradually turned Flip into a human GPS beacon.
They have a GPS location, and I said, well, I've been there. I can get you in, that kind of thing. And that's why they always ask me, how do we do this? How do we get into this particular spot?
He's one of the fastest first responders because he's raced to rescues since he was a teenager.
I was 13, 14 years old, I guess. That was my first taste of search and rescue, which I dug, of course. I felt good because they asked us to help them, and we knew that we could. This is the best four-wheeler that you ever have right here.
Teton County search and rescue volunteers like Flip are on call 24/7, 365. So when emergency calls come in, they push the pause button on their lives and head to the hangar, the team's home base, where search and rescue coordinator Jess King keeps the 40 members busy with training year-round.
I'm at the hangar. We got a full crew here. We can send them to shift. I'm the only paid person on search and rescue, and I work for the Teton County Sheriff's Office. I'm here every day, 40 hours a week. Jackson's pretty unique in the sense that people move here to recreate. They visit here to recreate. I think we draw a unique crowd that likes to push the envelope. So search and rescue has to be very highly skilled and highly trained. Can you run through a safety check with everyone who's going?
Yes.
I will send you coordinates. You are the team leader for that group.
Yeah, just right now.
Under Flip's wing today is rookie Anthony Stevens, who must ace a year-long training program to earn a permanent spot on the team.
Anthony is a great guy. He was born and raised in Jackson. He went to the same high school I did. He wants to be the best. He wants to be a guy that can go in there and do it all, which is great for search and rescue.
This is what you got for folks that are here right now, and then these are people that can ride sleds.
Today we are going out on the snowmobile to practice.
We're gonna go out, we're gonna ride the trails, practice these skills, practice getting to know the machines.
If Anthony wants to succeed on Flip's search and rescue snowmobile team, he needs to learn how to ride around Togety Pass, Wyoming's most demanding sled proving grounds.
So, oh,
Dude, seriously. Togety's this amazing area in Wyoming that you have so many different types of terrain. You can go for hundreds of miles just looping these trails together.
Togety Pass remains Flip's home turf, where he comes to be challenged in the deep snow.
Flip's an excellent rider. He has intimate knowledge of the area. It doesn't seem like there's anybody out there that knows Togety as well as he does.
on a good powder day, it's like riding a cloud.
He's also super patient with teaching us new folks snowmobiling skills.
We're going and right there. And then we're gonna hit this area right in here, which I feel is one of the best places to ride.
Flip's speed and agility on a snowmobile pays off when he rushes to the scene of accidents. Then when it's time to haul patients to safety, he knows how to ride smoothly through the backcountry, so bad injuries aren't made worse by a bumpy ride.
Goal for today was to get out and see what the trail was like and to see how all the sleds performed.
Anthony appreciates the one-on-one time with Flip because he's fighting to control more than just this powerful machine. He might be part of one of the most elite search and rescue teams on the planet. But there was a time when Flip would have left Anthony in the dust.
10 years ago, there's no way I could have physically been on this team. I was close to 300 pounds. I forced myself into type 2 diabetes, and that was a light switch for me, and I completely switched myself around. I started eating better, more exercise. I dropped 100 and some odd pounds. Wrong trail, but yeah, we're going down. I've got a kid, and I want to stay physically active. I want him to have a love for the outdoors, and I want to spend time getting him to know this valley as I did as a kid. Oh yeah, there you are. I have a lot of pride being on this team because it's sort of a culmination of what you work for when you put your mind to something.
Over the last several months, Anthony has felt overwhelmed by rookie training, including tough classes in first responder emergency medicine.
I do get anxious about the things that I might fall short on. I want to focus on the skills that are needed to get this person out. You want to make sure that you're prepared when the pager goes off. Sometimes I still feel like an imposter when I pull up like, wow, should I be here? Do I actually belong in here? It's still sort of a pinch yourself where you're like, yeah, we've worked hard to get to this point.
Fourteen-year-old Bill went over the handlebars. Pupils are good, no loss of consciousness, strong pulse.
Just as Anthony and Flip are parking the snowmobiles, a call comes in from back at Togety Pass.
They say he smashed his leg.
There's a 14-year-old boy in need of immediate medical care in the backcountry. Anthony is at the hangar and ready to go.
Put your teams together, get it organized.
Jess takes over as incident commander at the hangar, while Anthony joins Flip's first responding snowmobile team. He might be a rookie, but today, because Anthony has the most backcountry first aid training, he's suddenly thrust into the role of medical lead. So it's a race to get to the scene before darkness descends, and temperatures drop into the single digits, bringing on the threat of hypothermia.
Okay, let's go.
male went over the handlebars. Pupils are good, no loss of consciousness, strong pulse.
Teton County search and rescuers Flip Tucker and Anthony Stevens are called out to care for a 14-year-old snowmobiler with an undisclosed leg injury. Anthony works as a wilderness educator for the National Outdoor Leadership School, so he's dealt with injuries in the backcountry. But he's never overseen a rescue for this team.
We are almost at the Continental Divide. We're not too far from where we're meeting Chris.
The exact location of the snowmobiler crash remains unknown. All the team knows is the boy's hurt and in danger of becoming hypothermic somewhere around Togety Pass, where the winter temperatures can swing from just above freezing to 20 below zero in a single day.
My understanding is the patient has been out for a couple of hours now in the snow. Hypothermia is a real concern.
Hypothermia sets in when a person's body temperature drops below 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Young victims, like the injured boy, don't have a lot of insulating body fat, so they're at greater risk, especially if they're hurt and lying in the snow.
Anthony, the IC, be advised we are on scene.
This is Incident Command, where Jess listens in and coaches over the radio.
If you get further information or GPS coordinates, that's going to be the key. Anthony, he loves to learn. He always wants to learn more and do better. He puts an enormous amount of energy into his training. He wants to be able to do whatever we throw at him.
Anthony is the on-scene EMT. He must stabilize the boy's leg and get him out of the backcountry.
You just want us to package and bring him out.
The local rangers point the team in the direction of the crash site.
Awesome.
It's a lucky break. Anthony and Flip won't have to spend precious time trying to locate the boy who's suffering out in the cold. With the moon rising, it's time for Anthony to prove himself.
You're gonna have to hit it kind of hard. Ready?
Here's where Flip's sled skills really pay off. As he rides in, he scouts for a safe, smooth exit, because a rough trip could have life or death consequences if the patient has any undetected internal bleeding or a spinal injury.
I'm medical lead on this, and we put together a small team of 4 folks. We have limited information. There's a possibility of an open or closed fracture. We won't know till we get on scene and assess that. Hey, Trevor, my name's Anthony. I'm with Teton County Search and Rescue. How you doing? They have cut open his pants. I don't see any pooling blood, but I also don't know what else is wrong with him. What's your pain level between 1 and 10? 1 being, mosquito bite, 10 being the worst you've ever felt in your life? How do you rate this? This is a 10? Okay, good to know.
It's time to deploy the suck bag, which works like a bean bag in reverse. With the pump sucking the air out of the bag, this creates a rigid, stabilizing cast.
Okay, so what we need to do is we need to roll Trevor onto the side. We need one person to kind of support this leg. This is gonna hurt, okay? Trevor, this is gonna hurt a little bit, okay, bud? So, hold on. I'm gonna hold your hand. Slow down. Okay.
Anthony has more than just an injured boy on his hands. He's also there to reassure the boy's father, who kneels in the snow to help move his son into Flip's transport toboggan.
Let's see if we can just get the thing up under the knee and let him calm down. He's been lying in that position. That's why it hurts.
Oh, God.
Okay, so go ahead and let's...
Anthony and his team are unsure if the boy's suffering from a broken femur or possibly a dislocated hip, and this puts the group on edge.
See, the other leg's in the way is what I'm telling you. I gotta bring the other leg up to match his leg so I can bring the suck bag up.
So all we're doing is we're not actually gonna pick him up, we're just gonna roll him over on his back, okay? And this is gonna hurt. You definitely feel the pressure. I'm still new to the team, it's getting dark. That's just an added challenge. Anybody not ready? Okay, on 3, 2, 1.
The Teton County Search and Rescue Snowmobile Team is the closest thing you're going to get to an ambulance on snow. Rookie Anthony Stevens is medical lead, so it's on him to stabilize a 14-year-old boy with a serious leg injury. That means he's got to roll the patient over.
We're not actually gonna pick him up, we're just gonna roll him over on his back, okay? And this is gonna hurt.
The whole team is relying on the suck bag to save the day by bracing the boy's legs in place.
Anybody not ready? Okay, on 3, 2, 1.
He won't put it down. He won't put it down. Okay. He's got to let go. Okay, buddy. Relax.
Use my hand.
He did not want to put his leg down. Even with a femur fracture, you can generally guide that leg down, but he absolutely was guarding it. He was holding it up as if it was a position of comfort for him.
Hang on just a second.
I think for me as a parent, I don't want to hear a kid scream. I don't want to hear anybody scream, but I was taught a long time ago, the thing to remember is that it's not your pain. Your job is to stabilize, transport, and treat. Get in there. Yep. Trevor, you're doing a great job. Bring the sides up if you can. Oh, yeah. He felt more relief when both of his legs were up in that sort of chair position. And the minute that we had him in that rigid position and we let him go, he said, this is the best I've felt since this happened.
3, 2, line anybody on the other side to try to help.
With the boy's legs braced, the team gets one step closer to the hospital by lowering him into Flip's transport toboggan.
Okay, in, nice and slow. Nice. Perfect. Maybe Dad should stay.
I'll stay.
Did you have Dad sit in here with you? I wanted to make sure that his father was with him, just for that emotional support and knowing that he's been laying in the snow, he gets packaged up and he gets put into a toboggan, that he's not just surrounded by people that he doesn't know.
I want to follow you guys as level and as smooth as possible.
It's showtime for Flip and his toboggan, one specially designed for the backcountry. Its wide base prevents injuries by providing a smooth ride for a stretched out patient.
My role as a snowmobile guy is to make sure that we get him off the snow and get him in the toboggan as quickly as possible.
Back at Incident Command, all Jess can do is keep her faith in the toboggan coming up big.
Flip, I see. Flip, what's the status on the toboggan up there? In the backcountry, when you're carrying a person who's injured, it's convenient and easier to have this toboggan. It allows us to drag them gently through the snow and also saves our energy.
You have to fight off the adrenaline. The adrenaline kicks in and you're all amped up and you have to stop, take a big deep breath, relax, and be smooth, because smooth is fast.
Smooth is fast. That's the team motto. They are words Flip lives by, and now the team is counting on its most experienced rider to pull this patient to safety.
Going too fast, you start making mistakes. If you don't slow down and think about that kind of stuff, then there's a problem.
There's always concerns moving a patient that has a high-speed accident. What other internal damages go down that we can't see?
A 14-year-old boy is loaded and ready for transport. While back at Incident Command, Jess waits for news from the field.
Hey, Anthony, how are you? Right now, I'm pretty anxious. They're at least on their way out of the backcountry. But I don't feel the job is done until the team is back here safely and get him to definitive care.
Ready?
This is a crux moment in the rescue, and it falls to Flip, who has spent his life riding this remote section of the Wyoming backcountry.
You have to fight off the adrenaline. And you're all amped up and you have to take a big deep breath and relax and be smooth.
Good job, Trevor. Good job, lift up. 1, 2, 3.
It was new terrain for me. The first time I'm leading my peers. I'd be lying if I didn't feel like there was a little bit of pressure. But I know that the next call, one of my other peers will be the leader and they'll be feeling the same thing. So I'm excited and I'm ready for the next one whenever it happens.
Anthony, awesome job. Mark, yeah, right there. Really great job. Yeah, great job. Got it worked out.
Anthony took a big deep breath and relaxed, and I patted him on the back and said, nice job. That's all in the day's work as far as the search and rescue goes.
Teton County has done a great job at putting together this excellent first response team, highly qualified individuals that care about the people that they're working for, essentially. We're out there training for the people, and we look after ourselves and we look after our community.
Anthony did a great job, my team did a great job, and we back each other up.
We can have all the fancy toys like the helicopter and the snowmobiles, but without the team showing up to support each other and to trust each other and get the job done, none of these tools matter. So it's all about the team.
And with this rescue, Anthony made big strides to becoming a full-blown member of this team.
have always wanted to be on this team. We all live in this community. We choose to live here. It's a tough place to be, and we want to take care of the people that are here. And, you know, I wanted to be a part of that. Jackson is the country's best playground, and you can't be everywhere all the time, but if you can be there sometimes to help out, that's a valuable resource.
Teton Sheriff Communications.
There was a report of a slide on the pyramid. Can you guys fly over that and check it out?
Someone was buried in an avalanche one canyon over, and we had the ability to get there and possibly save their life.
Okay, we do have a track who goes in. That's unquestionable.
We don't want to put anybody into this slope. We know now there's a lot of hang fire still above it.
There's a lot of snow up there that could still slide. It was certainly a dangerous situation.
Copy that. Let's mark the spot to proceed on the full-on avalanche search.
I begin to shovel as if it's my companion there.
Well, he is in a moment digging like a maniac.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming spreads out beneath the towering Tetons. And for centuries, it's offered a home where the bison roam. The Yellowstone buffalo are still here in numbers big enough to hunt, and you can find their images all over the town of Jackson, memorialized on the state flag and outside Bud's liquor store. Local pastures once grazed by bison are today fenced off. Wrangling isn't an easy way to make a living these days, but they still do it on the Lockhart Ranch, a handsome spread right in the center of town. Fifth-generation local and search and rescue utility man Cody Lockhart does his ranching inside city limits, but is ready to spring into the backcountry.
When you get a SAR call, it's like something's gonna happen. I'm either gonna, get on a snowmobile and go into the woods for the night, or I'm gonna jump on a helicopter, or whatever the event may be.
For Cody, volunteering on search and rescue is an extension of the ranching tradition. You've got to look out for your neighbors.
This community needs SAR because things happen, and someone has to be there to help them out. If you're in the mountains enough, you are going to have an incident, whether it's your fault or just an act of God. We're lucky enough to be able to be there to help people when they need it.
These bulls are our pride and joy.
Ranching is not necessarily a job, it's a way of life. Times are changing, and we're trying to, have our business evolve with it.
In Jackson, the role of the cowboy continues to evolve. As Cody not only wrangles cattle and delivers meat, he also works as a financial planner.
My day job, I'm a financial advisor. Generally, when I'm sitting at my desk and I see that I have a SAR call, I kind of smile inside and I'm excited to go run out the door.
Cody and his search and rescue teammates expect a call out any day now, as the first big storm of winter moves in, bringing with it the start of avalanche season. Avalanches most often occur in early to mid-winter, as big dumps pile up quickly and create unstable backcountry conditions.
on Jackson Hole. We've received 17 inches of fresh snow. It just keeps coming, Jackson Hole.
Over 5 days, a storm drops 3 feet of new snow on slopes just above town. Places like Glory Bowl and Pyramid Peak load up and trigger easily when crossed by someone exploring the backcountry. That puts search and rescue on high alert.
This is forward ops. Can you tell us if you an update from the helicopter, please?
So volunteer Jake Urban studies the Teton snowpack and alerts the community to danger zones as they develop, storm by storm.
It's really important that I get out and actually get out into the terrain and I have an idea of what the snowpack's doing.
Jake patrols the Jackson Hole backcountry because he loves being out here. But he also does this to keep his community safe, including his teammates. Guys like Cody Lockhart, who Jake is often paired with on rescues. After many years in the saddle as a first responder with Cody and the rest of the team, Jake considers these folks family.
This group of people is the greatest group of friends I would never make. There would be no reason for any of us to be in the same room together. But twice a month, and up to about 90 times a year, we find a common cause. That's what makes this team.
I'm gonna push down on your pelvis. Okay, you let me know if anything hurts.
Ultimately, we have a fragile snowpack that rots out at the base, and then we get a heavy load on top of that.
The entire search and rescue team relies on Jake to watch and study the snowpack, so everyone is fully aware of the constantly changing avalanche conditions.
And if you just think of it from a structural standpoint, base of your foundation, you'd like it to be strong, and the base of our snowpack is not.
The current snowpack isn't binding, so it can fracture and slide on a thin layer of hoarfrost. This granular snow slips like ball bearings and accelerates downhill.
You can see a couple of the different storm tracks. 3 major events have consolidated down into 3 interfaces here.
The reality is that we've got a sleeping dragon in the snowpack, and it's just a matter of somebody tickling that dragon. If you wake it up, it's going to be ugly.
Each winter, the team heads into avalanche season with one goal: keeping everyone alive in the backcountry. The person leading that charge is Jess King, the rescue coordinator and den mother, overseeing operations at the hangar.
I would say in some ways we're trying to put ourselves out of a job to get our community educated to the point where they're safe in the backcountry, they're still getting out there, getting after it, but they're able to take care of themselves and make good decisions.
The team's primary mission is to have 0 deaths. So when people do get into trouble, Search and Rescue sends in its avalanche rescue dream team.
We're gonna take Cody with us too.
Jake and Cody. They specialize in the techniques on the bill for today's training. It's called short hauling, and it allows 2-man rescue teams to swoop in and pluck injured people from difficult to reach slide paths. Giving the briefing about today's training operation is Medical Director AJ Wheeler.
Right now, our goal is to fly up and assist the mountain patrol.
Short haul is a helicopter rescue technique where the helicopter has a rope suspended from the belly of it, and at the end of that rope is a human being, and that's one of our rescuers. So they are harnessed into the end of the rope.
The 150-foot short-haul line is made from the same polymer fibers that create everything from bulletproof vests to fishing line. Today, Jess will oversee short-haul training.
Yep, that's the plan.
This is a chance for Cody and Jake to work on their communication with heli pilot Nicole Ludwig and spotter Chris Lee.
Teton Sheriff Communications.
There was a report of a slide on the pyramid. Can you guys fly over that and check it out?
While the team wraps up training in an area called Rock Springs, practice suddenly gets real as a call comes in about an avalanche on nearby Pyramid Peak.
Okay, Okay, we do have a track who goes in. That's unquestionable.
Copy that. Let's mark the spot. Let's proceed on the full-on avalanche search.
Someone was buried in an avalanche one canyon over, and we had the ability to get there and possibly save their life.
Teton Sheriff Communications. There was a report of a slide on the pyramid. Can you guys fly over that and check it out?
A reported avalanche near where Teton County Search and Rescue is training with its helicopter sends the team rushing to the scene. While back at the hangar, veteran volunteer Tim Seal Carlin steps in as incident commander, overseeing all parts of the rescue.
Get those teams together. We just got a call out for an avalanche on what's called the pyramid. It's a pretty popular place to ski, rather steep and known for avalanche activity.
The search and rescue heli flies a couple of drainages south to the scene of the reported avalanche. This time, if anyone was caught in the avalanche on Pyramid, they're incredibly lucky to have a helicopter searching from the air and Cody and Jake ready to fly in on a short haul line. This is their specialty. But up on Pyramid, the avalanche danger remains.
I don't want to go into that avalanche path.
Just looking to see if there's anybody around that area.
Okay, we do have a track who goes in. That's unquestionable.
Copy that. Let's mark the spot. Let's proceed on the full-on avalanche search.
So Cody and I, the first thing that we want to do is get eyes on the victim.
But as incident commander, Tim's primary job is keeping his rescuers safe. He doesn't want to send them into an active avalanche path. So while heli pilot Nicole Ludwig searches from above for signs of victims caught in the slide path, Jake and Cody stand by.
We don't want to put anybody into this slope. We know now there's a lot of hang fire still above it.
Hang fire is snow left at the top or crown of an avalanche that is unstable and could still slide. So Tim orders the heli to scan the slope with an avalanche beacon.
It's a high-power avalanche beacon that hangs below a helicopter. If we get a tone and we get a beacon hit, we'll know where to look.
If anyone caught in this slide was wearing an avalanche transceiver, then the helicopter's beacon will pick up electromagnetic signals broadcast every few seconds. The heli beacon operates like ground-penetrating radar as it sweeps over the slope looking for signs of life buried in the snow. Then suddenly, the beacon registers a signal.
We suppose we just picked up somebody.
We're going to go there and get staged and get ready to assist these folks and at least get eyes on our people on this slide path. Okay? We are their only backup right now.
Tim rushes to set up a command post at the Pyramid Peak trailhead, while the heli flies to pick up Jake and Cody. Medical specialists stand by to assist.
Nicole, we can stay where we are at this LZ. 30 minutes is ideal to dig somebody up. Less than 30 minutes for an avalanche victim for chance of survival. So we're pushing it to try and get people out there safely.
In the heli is spotter Chris Lee. He's the team's eyes in the sky, so he gives Jake and Cody a quick heads up about what to expect.
Jake said, let's just draw a map on the snow. I drew a map on the snow of the scene, and then we just made a unified decision. We would go in as two groups, and we would take Jake and Cody in first. And we decided we'd go in, we'd have them, we'd put them in, they would have to skin up to the slide zone.
We'll circle around, and then we'll come back to the spot. If you don't like it, tell us that. Okay, no, why don't we just fly and look? Okay.
By the time Jake and Cody take off, it's been more than 45 minutes, and they're still unsure where to drop in. But then the heli spots another clue.
Okay, James, there is somebody. We just found a snowboard at the very end of the slide.
Nicole, is that person alone?
We only see a snowboard upside down in the slide.
Nicole takes us on a big lap around. Jake and I were kind of just talking. You can only talk so much when you're flying under a helicopter at 50 miles an hour or whatever. And I think we both nodded, said, this is gonna happen, we're going. And I see the snowboard sticking out of the snow. Nicole put us down kind of in the only spot she really could.
Jake and Cody are on the ground and on the run at the bottom of an avalanche path that could slide again. Teton County Search and Rescue first responders Jake Urban and Cody Lockhart make tracks towards a snowboard spotted in avalanche debris. It's been more than an hour since the slide, and one or more victims might be buried.
As I approach the board that's protruding through the snow, it becomes very apparent that somebody is attached to it. I begin to shovel as if it's my companion there, which is pretty rapidly.
Well, he is in the moment digging like a maniac. On scene, Cody is actually set back a little bit in the trees.
There's a lot of snow up there that could still slide. You know, it's not done. Talked it through and said, Jake, you go start digging there. If I see something coming off the cliff above us, I'll scream at you to get out of the way. It was certainly a dangerous situation.
As I'm digging, it's also becoming very apparent that the victim has suffered a tremendous amount of trauma in the process of the slide.
From the incident command post down at the Pyramid Peak trailhead, Tim mobilizes a team to search for anyone who might have survived the slide and skied out. He also orders medical specialists to fly into the location of the victim as quickly as possible.
Anybody responding, we have an hour and 29 minutes since the event occurred.
Okay, an hour and 29 minutes.
Cody echoes Tim's call for sending in medical support, asking for 2 more rescuers and a stretcher, known as a litter, for pulling people out of the backcountry.
Cody on sorry, Pete. Can that be 2 people plus litter?
2 people plus the litter would be good.
Rescue Coordinator Jess King helps volunteer John Weedy and Medical Director Dr. AJ Wheeler prepare for their flight into the scene.
Yep, AJ and Weedy and they have the litter.
As a physician entering that scene, ultimately the decision falls on me that yes, we can recover and unbury somebody still alive.
John and AJ unhook from the short haul line, then use special climbing skis to travel uphill to the patient. Back down at the trailhead, the team paces anxiously.
There are cases where people have survived a long time, so we're just waiting to hear back at this point.
Teton County Search and Rescue's medical team is airborne and headed into the backcountry to assist with the rescue of a snowboarder caught in an avalanche.
We short hauled into a small meadow that was right next to the avalanche slide in a safe zone, which was the same area where Jake and Cody were inserted.
I continue to dig and eventually able to free the victim from the snow. At this time, I request Cody to come over and we work together in order to pull the victim out of the slide path and get him into a secure area.
At the same time, Dr. AJ Wheeler and short haul specialist John Weedy speed to the scene so the patient receives immediate care.
As a physician entering that scene, even though I train with our first responders and EMTs extensively on assessing these patients in the backcountry, ultimately the decision falls on me in assessing the victim and then to help extract the victim.
Volunteers at the trailhead finish a sweep of the area and determine the snowboarder caught in the slide was traveling alone. As the heli returns to the trailhead, news comes in. The snowboarder didn't make it.
We have dug the patient out as quickly as possible, removed them from the slide path, but injuries was very traumatic.
A 30-year-old Jackson local pays the ultimate price for snowboarding into avalanche terrain. It happens just above town, in a place where members of the team have skied before. So this one hits close to home.
He basically went into the snowpack at an angle. So snowboard here, legs like this.
When the slide broke loose on Pyramid Peak, it hit speeds of more than 70 miles per hour. As it dragged the snowboarder, through trees and over cliffs. That's why 1 in 4 avalanche victims die of blunt force trauma.
I don't think he survived the slide. I think he was dead before the snow stopped moving.
Rescues are a big deal to us, and we take it really personally when we go there and there's a fatality. It hurts us. It really does knock the wind out of our sails.
Had the individual just waited a couple of days and let the snowpack stiffen up, this occurrence probably wouldn't have happened.
You know, some people are very stoic and handle the situation amazingly well. Other people, you know, don't. It takes them off guard. So we don't have much training, or I personally don't have much training on how to deal with people dying.
If we learn from each and every one of them, we will be safer. It may take time, but we will be better for it.
You guys are doing a nice job.
We have a 37-year-old male, impact with a tree, hip injury, possible upper femur.
We have a patient that we have to package who's in a tremendous amount of pain.
You got the meds?
Yeah.
My big concern is safety of my team. It's a pretty sketchy place, and the avalanche conditions this year are not good.
Okay.
It's a tough working condition when someone's in that kind of pain.
Hang on a second.
Stop!
Staring down at the community of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, is the vertical world surrounding Teton Pass. Around here, this is everyone's backyard, especially those who live right at the base of the pass. Up high, it's America's largest unofficial ski area. It's a backcountry access point that's grown enough to now seem a bit loved to death. It takes a potent combination of muscle, training, and gear to tackle the Tetons, which rise to more than 13,000 feet. Jackson local Jamie Yount climbed the Grand Teton when he was just 12 years old. That demanding journey sent him on a career path working in the mountains. Today, Jamie's day job also makes him a valuable volunteer on search and rescue.
I'm an avalanche technician for the Wyoming Department of Transportation, and this is my 14th winter. SAR really relies on me for any sort of avalanche mitigation stuff we might have to do. So if there is a call on Teton Pass, I'm pretty quick to respond. I joined SAR because I wanted to improve my own skills. I wanted to give something back to the community. We live in the Rocky Mountains, and you know, Teton Pass, it's great terrain.
Out here, avalanches are the most lethal threat.
There's actually 4 avalanche corridors in and out of Jackson Hole.
There's Togety Pass, Hoback Canyon, Snake River Canyon, and Teton Pass, where Jamie works to make sure Highway 22 remains open. For those drawn to the mountains around Teton Pass, it's the only link between the backcountry and civilization.
There's mitigation work that needs to happen, making sure that that all goes smoothly. Jack's fire.
So for many years, in the ongoing battle against deadly slides, the community rolled out its biggest gun.
Ready to fire? Fire!
By lobbing explosives, you can test the snowpack's stability and preemptively trigger a controlled slide. This neutralizes the threat. And it's work Jamie really loves.
5-5.
355.
Rocky Eagles high. What's not to like? You get to fly around helicopters and throw bombs out. And shoot howitzers. On to the detonation spot.
Ready to fire! Fire!
There's a lot of places where we have these really steep road cuts that come right onto the highway, and we've had a lot of problems with these over the years. So the goal of our program is to bring these avalanches down on our terms and then clean it up and get the road back open. So try and, keep our transportation system real safe.
The local highways Jamie keeps safe provide easy access up Teton Pass. And there is a sect of dedicated regulars at the pass who patrol the backcountry. One of them is Jake Urban, a wilderness skills instructor and avalanche expert.
It literally is the backyard. We're 15 minutes from our doorstep. That's really what we're all here for. That's what brought us all to Jackson Hole.
Jake lives just down the pass at the foot of the Tetons in a log cabin base camp with his wife, Marilyn.
Why would I put it in the guests?
Who is now halfway through her first season on Search and Rescue.
As a rookie, I want to finish up my paramedic class, and then I want to go on a couple of missions where I'm in charge and I am calling the shots.
From home, the couple runs the Jackson Hole Leadership Institute.
And actually, go find that person, right?
When it starts raining,
They teach well together, but will they also serve well together, side by side, as volunteers on the team?
We've had a lot of conversations about that dynamic and trying to not make it awkward. It's actually great for our marriage simply because it gives us an opportunity to just be teammates outside of the marriage.
when you come around inside the ship, I'm gonna have you seeing him around.
It's a little bit terrifying to go into this because there are people who have 10 years of experience either in the search and rescue piece or even on the medical side. So when you're new and you've got a lot to learn, and there's a element of the unknown in my future here.
It's Sunday night, and Marilyn and I are actually getting ready to host some guests.
Okay.
You want to have a drink?
Let's do it.
We're hosting for a dinner party when the call out comes.
Dispatch is here. This is what we've got. A lot of skiers. They are calling themselves in. They are visiting the area.
Details are vague. Search and Rescue doesn't know exactly how the skier was injured.
Initial information, a skier's a hip or leg injury. First thing I do is I look at Marilyn and I say, are we going on this? I think we have to go for this.
No, I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator.
Okay, this is never convenient. Let's go.
These are defining moments for search and rescue volunteers when they push the rest of their lives aside and rush into the backcountry.
While that can be trying, it can be very rewarding at the same time. We all talk about trying to balance our family, trying to balance the team, and ultimately what it comes down to is if you could plan when rescues would take place, it would be very easy to strike a balance.
From Jake and Marilyn's place, it's a quick dash up the pass, so they'll be the first on the scene. Right behind Jake and Marilyn is the rest of the team, who swarm upon the hangar. It's almost sundown, and the rescue heli doesn't fly at night. So it's on Incident Commander Jess King to mobilize everyone and make sure they're ready for the steep climb up ahead.
So we're assembling a rescue team with rigging gear, ski gear, making sure we're ready for avalanches, and getting them out of there. So it was really convenient to have Jake in a position where he and Marilyn could drive up to the pass and get eyes on the patient first on scene.
Jake and Marilyn interview the patient's friends, who saw their companion crash into a tree. Initial signs indicate a pelvic fracture, a potentially lethal injury.
So we can just shuffle. How your feet doing, David? Can you wiggle still?
Yeah, they're good. You feel that heat pad? Yeah.
The team's big task is getting the patient out of the backcountry as quickly as possible. That means traversing through the same steep terrain Jamie blasts for avalanches. Avalanche risk goes way up when Teton Pass is hit by approaching storms. And now one is on track to collide with the pass. So that puts this attempted rescue on a collision course with a blizzard. As night approaches along with a snowstorm, husband and wife team Jake and Marilyn rush to lower a 37-year-old man down the mountain to a waiting ambulance. It's the couple's first rescue working together.
We tried really. Can we put my left ski on and see what he does?
Being on scene I thrive on it. It's where I think a lot of the problem solving begins and where it takes place. It's a great position to have the trust of the team to be able to be put in that position. I'm always eager to fill it and serve, and ultimately try to make the rescue as smooth as possible for the rest of the team.
12 miles away at the hangar, Incident Commander Jess King lays out the situation as a snowstorm continues to pound Teton Pass.
Alex and Jen Sparks are getting ready to load up in my vehicle and Mike Moyer's vehicle, heading up, and we've got the advanced medical.
We've got a lot of concerns. Once we get on scene, we'll probably be worried about avalanches in the exposed terrain.
And I can hike too.
The patient has an injury, making them unable to walk. We knew we couldn't fly for this one because it's getting dark, and also it's just really bad weather out right now. So we know we're gonna have to package him and transport him.
Is skis in it?
This is the first rescue where Jake and Marilyn are working as a team. They're the only married couple on search and rescue, and they hope their close relationship makes them good rescue teammates. Tonight, it's so far, so good.
We were on scene with the patient probably another 20, 25 minutes from the time we left the vehicle. Half a mile from the road. Within visual of the road itself, you know, not very far, but technical terrain, directly above a cliff band.
So we can just shuffle. How your feet doing, David? Can you wiggle still?
Yeah, they're good. You feel that heat pad? Yeah.
You know, in terms of, you know, we definitely have a different style and a different way about things, but, you know, arguably we're ultimately just trying to get to the same place.
We palpate the patient's body to figure out where the injury is, what's in trouble, and it was his hip pelvis area. So it was really hard to figure out without an x-ray machine on site.
Your hip checked the ground, not the tree itself.
So it ended up being the femoral head smashing into the acetabulum, and then a chip of that breaking off.
So anytime anybody has a broken pelvis, it's considered a life threat. The biggest thing that we're worried about is internal blood loss and the patient going into shock.
Taking away his pain was, with narcotics, was critical to being able to get him out of there.
Back down the mountain and make sure that everybody is accounted for.
What's the plan?
Drugs move you.
We wait till the drugs kick in?
Oh, yeah.
Backcountry Rescue is brought to you by the Ego Power Plus Lawnmower. Ego, power beyond belief. And by Polaris, the world leader in off-road. Visit Polaris.com.
Okay, so we'll hold your foot.
Yeah, I don't want it to slide. Marilyn, you doing okay? Yeah.
Teton County Search and Rescue paramedic Marilyn Davis offers her best cliffside manner to an injured skier. Her husband Jake lays out a plan for extracting the 37-year-old man. The patient has a potentially lethal pelvic fracture. He's in overwhelming pain. So time for a speedy lowering down to the highway. The plan is to slide the patient across the slope, away from a set of treacherous cliffs. Then lower him on a sled using a system of anchors and ropes.
Our rigging problem is we need to traverse a patient 150 feet, 200 to 200 feet across the slope. To solve that problem, we benched a sidewalk into the terrain, into the snow, across that descended very gradually.
But as darkness descends on Teton Pass, the approaching storm begins to unload its frozen payload. Seeing the potential for avalanche danger, the Wyoming Department of Transportation closes Highway 22, blocking the route back to town. Unsure whether or not the waiting ambulance will make it off the pass, the team continues monitoring Jake and Marilyn's progress with the patient.
If you'd like to give us an update, you can go right ahead right now.
Copy that.
Marilyn! Can you give a patient update? You got a radio handy? They want that sooner than later.
I'm coming.
Okay. Strong pulse. His breathing is normal.
It was very clear what we needed to do.
They need to get him warm, splint his leg, and stabilize his body for transport.
Give him some pain meds and go.
Marilyn continues with patient care, giving updates, and then I begin working on some of the logistics in regards to what the extraction is going to look like for getting this patient out of there.
Nightfall cloaks the steep terrain, making it increasingly difficult to navigate the patient off this slope. It might seem like a routine bone break, but this injury can lead to a fatal blood clot or internal bleeding.
Okay. Ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Good job, Dave. You're doing awesome.
Great.
I can keep going.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay, right?
Okay.
Okay, your head's gonna be downhill for a second, though. Don't get too freaked out, okay?
Go, go, go. All hands on deck over here, please.
Once we moved the patient at 150 to 200 feet, we had a receiving platform where we transitioned to a steep lowering.
Overseeing the lowering is veteran volunteer Tim Seal Carlin.
You're going to use a prusik as a brake? Yep. And somebody's going to mind it?
We transitioned the patient into an upright, feet first.
The challenge is to slide the patient horizontally across the slope, away from steep cliffs below. Next, the patient's fate is tied into a rigging system designed to lower him down toward the highway.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's get tension on main if we can.
And with the storm increasing and avalanches threatening the road back to town, Tim spots a problem with the rigging.
That's the problem.
They're going to do a pretty steep lower with 2 ropes and have to pass a knot. And I looked at it and it's rigged not really the best.
Yep, straighten it up.
Hang on a second.
Stop!
Backcountry Zero. A campaign to reduce fatalities in the backcountry. It's time to heighten our awareness about safety. It's time for Zero. Teton County Search and Rescue volunteers Jake Urban and his rookie EMT wife, Marilyn Davis, rushed to transport an accident victim down steep terrain to safety. But veteran rescuer Tim Seal Carlin just spotted a big flaw in the rigging system, used to lower the injured skier down a 40-degree slope.
My big concern is safety of my team. Everybody has to be safe. There's no excuse.
Okay, slack it. Okay. Let's get this out of here.
Rigged the rope where there was an anchor on one side of the knot, and a belay device on one side, and a belay device on the other side of the knot, and seamlessly we kept that rope moving, and we passed that knot, and we moved right down the slope without even stopping.
Advise on speed!
Just advise them there at the end of the rope. Jake, advise we're at the end of the rope.
Even if the team can safely lower the patient to the waiting ambulance at the highway, avalanches threaten the road back to town. For Jamie, the team's explosives expert, this is how his day job overlaps with his volunteer time.
Fire in the hole, glory bowl.
This is Jamie's specialty, blasting safe routes out of the mountains. The patient is nearly to the ambulance, but now he must endure the pain of being transferred into the rescue toboggan.
3.
Thankfully, the approaching blizzard stalls and the avalanche danger drops, allowing the highway to open. Now there's safe passage for the ambulance down to the hospital in town.
I say it all the time, we need a good technical rescue. And if you want to build team, if you want to build leadership, if you want to build camaraderie amongst the membership, the best way to do that is to have a technical rescue and to have a favorable outcome. If we can get those two things together, it makes our team better every time. It increases our level of confidence, it re-engages people, it makes people want to train harder.
Really good job by everybody. It was pretty smooth up there, and runs were pretty easy. It seemed like everybody knew how to just kind of fall into place. Just fun having some good teamwork.
Mission accomplished. Not everyone's idea of a perfect Sunday night, but Jake is elated with how it all came together, especially the side-by-side teamwork with his wife, Marilyn.
Yes, I got to be a principal caregiver. It was great. Definitely room for improvement, but the patient fared well and we got him out fast. Jake and I worked well together. He wants to see me succeed, so he's super supportive and he's at times making sure I'm successful.
A 24-year-old male with a broken femur. It's a pretty accomplished group of snowmobilers. They're all locals.
I see that his quadricep is the size of a soccer ball, and he didn't want to move. We needed to get him warm, get his legs splinted, and go. We don't know if the helicopter can make it back, and we don't know what time they're getting back, so we just have to sort of be self-sufficient for now. So we need all hands on deck here, people.
1, 2, 3. Easy, 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 easy.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming might be known as the gateway to Yellowstone, but many come to hunt and fish outside the park. For local hunters and anglers, it's an all-season paradise, where the exact location of the best trout holes and elk haunts remain well-kept secrets. For most of its more than 200-year history, Jackson Hole was a remote outpost where hunters and anglers were on their own. If anyone got lost or in trouble in the backcountry, rescue work fell to local outfitters who hauled people back to town on horseback. Now, there's Teton County's Search and Rescue, and when a hunter or anyone else goes missing, the team uses helicopters to search by air. They bring along specialists in backcountry emergency medicine, doctors like A.J. Wheeler, who are on a mission to extend hospital care to every corner of Teton County.
I have a lot of irons in the fire. I mean, one of my goals is to elevate our level of medical care that we're providing. across the county, whether it's in the Grand Teton National Park, in the National Forest, or on our search and rescue missions.
It's an ambitious goal that puts incredible demands on Dr. Wheeler's time.
Once we get you over there, we can get your legs stabilized, and you feel a lot better.
In addition to living on call, waiting for accidents to happen, AJ is also the father of 2 young kids.
Sometimes just little reminders about the things that are important to your family.
He'd rather be fly fishing with his son than flying out the door on another rescue call.
What's this called, like an elk hair or something?
It's an elk hair caddis, yep. My first elk. We'll keep it on the down low that we are able to go there. Between bison and elk, I think we're set for a little while. I love my search and rescue team, but my family is my foundation, and the kids think, you know, this is special. I don't think they realize exactly what I do on the team, but I think they know it's not something that everybody does.
What is your job?
You tell them what you think I do.
I think he helps them find the people when they're hurt, who need help.
Yeah, I think so. This is one of my getaways. My office is the one room in the house that's mine. That's every night here. I designed the house to have this view. So there's not a bad view in the house. It just reminds you why we live here, why we get to do what we do. The pass right there, Mount Glory's in the clouds, and the south side of the pass where a lot of people ski, sitting right there. So a lot of times we get that call, I can look right out the window and see what the weather is like on the pass right where we're heading. You got to be ready for everything. I think I view the world in my own special way, but I think if you want to see the world a certain way, you have to go out and make it that way. And for me, putting those irons in the fire and trying to corral the family and work with these different agencies is my attempt to put my stamp on the world and get things to work the way I think they should. It's a small community. We get out there and people get after it, and unfortunately, accidents happen.
That's why donors and volunteers came together to build Teton County Search and Rescue, the best equipped facility in the Rockies. The queen of this hangar is Jess King. Today, she's getting ropes and rigging gear ready for a practice run up on Teton Pass. These are the tools that allow the team to cling to mountainsides and pull people out of danger, but not without hours and hours of training.
You need to have a higher skill level. You need to have really good partners that you trust.
The volunteer in charge of building that trust is training director Jake Urban. This year, he's joined by his wife, Marilyn Davis, now a rookie paramedic on the team.
Jake and I work well together, and we're hoping to sort of take it to the next level.
Jake is great. He has got so much energy for this team. He loves it.
So the tension will be on your prusiks, and it will be backed up.
He shows up for everything on time. He stays late. He puts an enormous amount of energy into his training program. He's a lifer.
I'm herding 40-some members, and once we've got the structure in place, training is the most fun I have with the team.
Today's mission? To practice ropes rigging for lowering injury victims off steep mountain slopes. They'll load the heli and head for Teton Pass, where it's easy to simulate a real backcountry emergency.
After insertion, we are moving up the ridge as teams in order to get to the training location. We're going to package a patient and then lower the patient through the terrain, do a knot pass, and receive that patient so that we can do a second lower in that terrain.
Your 2 anchors are going to go to one focal point. Our 2 anchors are going to go to one focal point. We'll have a rope on each one that will each go to the system.
Rigging is the foundation of everything that we do in search and rescue. It's the foundation of teamwork, it's the foundation of technical skill.
Clips are good, and your knot looks good.
Volunteer Cody Lockhart ropes up before moving out to a cliff area where rescues are common.
We're getting ready to lower off this face here, and we're using skis to make anchors. And basically we dig a trench, put the skis in that trench, and then the skis with the snow is strong enough to hold a large load.
I used to play doctor, now I'm playing patient.
We're just finishing up with the lowering activities for the day,
and we're moving into working on some snow shelters when I'm getting a board page.
A board page is the initial emergency call that goes out to all the search and rescue board members.
24-year-old male with a broken femur. It's a pretty accomplished group of snowmobilers. They're all locals.
And it's Dr. A.J. Wheeler's signal to race to the hangar and take over as incident commander.
Hey, this is Dr. Wheeler from Search and Rescue. Good, thanks.
His busy schedule kept him out of training today, but he'll assist by overseeing the team's response to this call-out. Without Dr. Wheeler on the scene, the team is counting on Jake and his paramedic wife, Marilyn, to take the medical lead on a potentially lethal femur fracture.
The broken bones can nick any of the arteries or veins. It was a bad injury. It's a tough working condition when someone's in that kind of pain.
Teton County's search and rescue training is interrupted by the real thing when a call for help comes in while most of the team is 12 miles away from the hangar up on Teton Pass. So the heli is dispatched to pick up medical first responders who rush to the scene.
We just got a call out for an injured snowmobiler down in the Fall Creek area. We believe he or she has a broken femur at this point. The weather's moving in, but it's looking pretty good south. So the plan right now is AJ is IC.
Hey, this is Dr. Wheeler from Search and Rescue.
As incident commander, AJ will oversee the medical team working in the field. Unfortunately, communications get off to a rocky start.
There's always confusion at the beginning of a SAR call. We have very little good information.
All AJ knows is there's an injured snowmobiler whose life may depend on a quick helicopter evacuation. But now bursts of wind and snow create sketchy flying conditions.
It's not looking good, but we'll see. We've flown in worse, I'll just put it that way.
AJ is one of the team's best backcountry doctors, but he can't make it into the field for this one. So AJ makes sure Jake and the heli team are ready to answer this call.
Do you have any medical people with you? Yes, I do. I have paramedics. Great. Make sure they're in that first group. Okay. Copy.
That means volunteer paramedic Marilyn Davis is officially on her first call as the team's medical lead, with Jake and Anthony there to help.
I'm a brand new paramedic, 1 year in, just came off probation a month ago. We're flying overhead, it's a bumpy flight, so I was already nervous. Anthony and I got dropped off. Jake went back to reconfigure the helicopter.
Jake's job is to fly to the hangar, pull out the seats, and transform the heli into an airborne ambulance where the patient can be transported lying down. But the upper elevation winds are picking up, so there's no guarantee the heli will be able to make it back to the scene where Marilyn takes command.
We approach, we say hi. I ask him his name and what's going on, and he says, my leg is broken. And I see that his quadricep is the size of a soccer ball, and he didn't want to move.
He's been lying in the snow, so hypothermia is a real concern, and also pain management.
For quick pain relief, Marilyn doses the patient through his nostrils. Then she focuses on the man's dropping body temperature.
He had been sitting on the snow for maybe 45 minutes, and it was inconclusive whether the helicopter was going to be able to make it back. Getting him warmer immediately was the crux of the situation.
Marilyn and Anthony need to move the patient off the snow and into a position that stabilizes his leg.
It was very clear what we needed to do. We needed to get him warm, get his leg splinted, and go.
It's difficult to decide how to move him because at this time, Marilyn and Anthony don't know exactly how the man's leg is broken.
There's many different ways to have a break. This individual had a spiral fracture, so not only did it break in a corkscrew around the femur bone, but then the head of the femur jammed itself and split the lower femur. Just the breaking of the bone, we expect folks to lose 1 liter of blood, and that's just enough to start putting people into shock. So the injury's bad enough, but you put shock on top of that, throw a little bit of cold and hypothermia into it, and you have a patient that's decompensating pretty quickly.
Back at the hangar, the team helps Jake reconfigure the heli with a stretcher, or litter as it's known in the backcountry. But high winds continue to whip the mountains outside of Jackson and create dangerous flying conditions.
It was a dicey ride in on the helicopter, so we didn't know if we were going to sit there and wait for a toboggan to come in on the snow machine, or if the helicopter was coming back immediately. We don't know if the helicopter can make it back, and we don't know what time they're getting back, so we just have to sort of be self-sufficient for now.
Teton County Search and Rescue rookie paramedic Marilyn Davis needs to keep cool on her first mission as medical lead.
We don't know if the helicopter can make it back, and we don't know what time they're getting back, so we just have to sort of be self-sufficient for now. So we need all hands on deck here, people.
Marilyn can't wait for the helicopter. It's time to move the patient off the snow.
Okay.
Ready?
Make sure you get a good grip with me. Easy. Nice work. Yeah, buddy. Nice work, dude. Yeah, dude. Yes. Perfect. Good work. Good job.
You tell us if either of us touch anything that hurts, will you let us know?
Now it's up to the heli to get back to the rescue scene.
Initially sounds dicey to navigate.
But the search and rescue heli team decides to brave the dangerous flying conditions, so an injured backcountry snowmobiler can get to the emergency room as quickly as possible.
Once I arrived back on scene, it was all hands on deck in order to move this patient.
Is anyone not ready? I'm ready. Sean, 3 cars. 1, 2, 3, up. Attaboy, nice work. Nice work. When I come around to the front, we bring you up there.
These are the times when, as a search and rescue member, ultimately we kind of just sit back and organize a little bit. We let the civilians do the work, and that's really when it's powerful to see them doing the job.
I know the boy's father, so I knew that I had helped a friend of mine's child, so that was cool. He was hanging in there and was talking and was super thankful. You know, we got him out quick, and I think the patient felt safe.
I'm feeling really good about this scene. It's interesting, I've got 2 new members, one of which is my wife. We're still trying to figure out how we work together on the team. And it was kind of a perfect situation because it gives me an opportunity to focus on operations and the logistics of getting the patient out. It gives Marilyn an opportunity to step into a leadership role.
Great job, everyone, and Marilyn, nice work.
To elevate the level of care that we're providing in the backcountry has been a big goal, and I think we're there.
Wind speeds in the Tetons can hit Category 1 hurricane levels throughout the winter. This does more than create treacherous flying conditions for the heli. It also causes the snow to shift in hazardous ways. The more wind, the more dangers caused by snow loading over steep alpine features. One of the most lethal is a cornice.
Ultimately, with cornice development, you have snow that builds up incrementally at such a slow rate that it's able to overhang the edge of the cliff. That overhanging feature breaks off and turns into a trap door. It's not a place we want to be hanging out.
I have very limited information on this. They state there's 1 person about to fall off the cornice and they're requesting short haul assistance.
Sounds like they were swept off. They may be on the cliff. They may also be under the cliff, buried in debris. They're not sure yet.
The details of this emergency call-out are eerily similar to an incident just last winter.
We had a carbon copy rescue where an individual ducked the rope, stepped out over to the cornice, didn't realize that he was on an overhanging feature, and that feature broke.
The guy basically fell off a 200-foot cliff and was alive. He had some injuries, but he walked, and it was one of those things, you looked at the 200-foot cliff, and you're like, there's no way that you could fall off of that and live, let alone walk away, and that's exactly what happened.
Knowing that somebody has survived, maybe this is another chance to actually rescue somebody.
Teton County Search and Rescue's heli team responds to a call from help from Grand Targhee ski area, where a man has reportedly fallen through a cornice and tumbled down a 200-foot cliff. A man's life is on the line, so AJ pushes himself and his teammates to deliver fast care in the backcountry.
I got a little hairy. Good job.
These are the moments the medical team trains for, when the odds appear stacked against the patient.
He's not breathing. Don't have a heart rate.
We're trying to resuscitate them, trying to perform these life-saving measures. Everybody always wants to be on a rescue and not a recovery.
AJ has seen someone survive this fall before and fights hard to see it again. But he also knows there's no guarantee of a happy ending. This time, the patient does not make it. He suffers severe blunt trauma to the head and torso and cannot be revived.
We try to keep perspective. For us, the focus becomes not necessarily bringing that victim home alive, but we still have a job to do to bring them back to their loved ones and hopefully provide some comfort. It's never easy to be involved in a death. Being on this team, you see the people that die in the mountains, you see friends that die in the mountains. It's disturbing sometimes. Pretty lucky to have a team that's focused on our team members. We're like an extended family, and so when we respond to a mission that winds up being a death and a body recovery, we'll have a formal debriefing session where we'll sit down and talk about particularly difficult cases. And occasionally people just need a break from things. All through high school and college, I was a runner. Given the busy lives that we have, being able to get out on the trail and just zone out and be together with your own thoughts is a great feeling. Kind of solace for the soul. My wife and my kids, they don't seem to think twice when I walk out the door because it's assumed that you're going to come back. And some of the stuff we do is risky. And death is always difficult to deal with, but I don't feel like our team views it as a failure. I think emotionally, the team probably feels more sadness.
A patient who has injured his leg seriously.
I'm seeing the patient advises he's in a lot of pain.
Well, we're really worried about avalanche. That's the number one thing in the backcountry, and we're worried about hypothermia. Were they prepared to spend the night?
We have another rescue, so.
I want to use all the snowmobiles if I can, but I have to have good teams.
First time that I've ever had 3 calls in 10 years I've been doing this. 3 calls in one day. Well, when it rains, it pours.
Life in Jackson Hole, Wyoming is speeding up. It's a dash to take in everything the Tetons offer, and that fills Jackson with a constant, adventurous buzz. It seems everyone is on their way out the door, or just returning from another epic experience. The constant coming and going leaves locals feeling unmoored. They crave an anchoring base camp. Somewhere in the shadow of these mountains where they can rest and reset just long enough to dream up another trip into the backcountry. As more locals look to put down roots, the town continues to spread out into the aspen and cottonwood groves. This is where Search and Rescue Coordinator Jess King found her home, just downslope of the Tetons.
This is my house. Incredibly fortunate to be able to own a home in Jackson. It's really tough, as most people who've heard of Jackson Hole know. It's a really wealthy community, so it's challenging to make ends meet, but my husband John and I have worked really hard to save money and buy a place.
Jess is the only paid staffer on Search and Rescue. As the team coordinator, she's the human glue holding the operation together.
You can see that we're in the middle of a ton of renovations. We have too much space, which I guess is a good problem to have, but so we just live in, this is where our master closet is. It's storage right now too, but because of getting call-outs in the middle of the night, it's really nice that I can get out of bed, run in here and get changed for a rescue and not wake up Jonna.
All Search and Rescue members must have their gear well organized and ready to respond when a call comes in. Right now, with the inside of her home totally gutted, Jess isn't feeling as dialed as she'd like to be.
I'm on call 24/7 for work, and so I'm kind of at work all the time, but I love my job, I love SAR. I started as a volunteer because I love it, transitioned into this job. It can be challenging at times to balance it, because I'll be in the middle of something, like working on a project with my husband, and we'll get a call out, and you gotta leave.
The town of Jackson is a jumping off point for all kinds of adventures into the backcountry, routine to downright risky. So it makes sense that this place maintains a community base camp, perched on a hill right in the center of town. And it's Jess's job to maintain this place. Home for her right now might be chaos, but the Search and Rescue hangar is always shipshape.
I take care of this whole building. I make sure it's operational, that all of our gear is ready to go when we have a mission. I love everything to be in its place and to have lots of open space, be really clean. Just like to make sure that they're ready to go. This isn't my gear, this is their gear to use and perform the missions, and we couldn't do our job without all this gear.
Jess doesn't know it, but this is the calm before the biggest storm of rescues ever to hit Jackson Hole.
Deputy on a snowmobile ride last night with another individual. We believe the Black Mountain, Bald Mountain, possibly Caribou Mountain area of Bonneville County. Did not make it out.
The call for help comes in from neighboring Bonneville County, about 40 miles southwest of the Search and Rescue hangar. In an area known as Black Mountain, 2 snowmobilers disappeared the day before.
Let's get the team page. Let's get rolling to the hangar.
The local sheriff's department briefs the Search and Rescue team.
Where you guys are at, yeah, but basically we have 2 snowmobilers have been lost since about stuck since probably about 2:30 yesterday. It is one of our deputies and one of his neighbors. So far, they've seen 2 tracks going into some pretty nasty terrain that if you go into, you have to commit to going out the bottom. And we're willing to do that last night because of the darkness, obviously.
Okay.
Flip, team leader, your group. Scroy, team leader, your group. Galen, team leader, your group.
Okay, everybody, you guys grab a helmet if you don't got one. Hey, guys.
We assign hasty teams as we need to with leaders. We make sure everyone has the safety gear they need, and then we dispatch them into the field.
Jess pulls together the best team members and tools needed to execute this rescue, while veteran volunteer Tim Seal Carlin steps up as incident commander, overseeing operations from the hangar.
I want to be where the forks, the two tracks go in. So that's
Put your teams together. I want to use all the snowmobiles if I can, but I have to have good teams.
Well, not only sending a helicopter to help look for the 2 lost snowmobilers, we also send ground teams, and we send a ground snowmobile team. And we do that as a backup plan because we never know if we can make it there with a helicopter, but more importantly, we don't know if we make it back. If that aircraft goes down with our people on board, we want to be there right now. So we have a ground team en route down to the staging area, and we'll put them to work if it needs to be.
Snowmobile and heli team now en route.
We're really worried about avalanche. That's the #1 thing in the backcountry, and we're worried about hypothermia. You know, even if they didn't get an avalanche, were they prepared to spend the night, and did they stay warm? You always worry a little bit about somebody getting hurt and they're not being able to get out, and finally you worry about, well, maybe they just maybe they're just stuck.
The team lays out its plan. They have no known coordinates for the missing snowmobilers, so they scour the area using spotters in the heli and expert sledders on the ground. Both are looking for one thing: tracks leading to the lost riders. Every minute counts.
Staging area, there's a ton of vehicles here, you can't miss it.
Jess relocates to the trailhead and coordinates the rescue. Searching by both land and air could cut time and mean the difference between life and death, especially if the lost riders were unable to start a fire and ward off hypothermia.
What we have here is we had a couple snowmobilers spend the night out last night. Today the helicopter went in with some from our team, the ground teams went in.
Teton County Search and Rescue heli specialist John Weedy scouts from the chopper.
Romeo, Lima, be advised, thick fog layer at 9,000 feet.
We don't really have good visibility. There's a fog layer down there.
The snowmobilers could be seriously injured or hypothermic, and the heli team still doesn't know their exact location. Teton County rescuers lead a search by land and air, with heli specialist John Weedy scouting from the chopper, on the hunt for a pair of lost snowmobilers who overnighted in the backcountry.
They found 2 tracks going into a really nasty spot.
And I'll contact you directly with GPS coordinate, and we'll just go from there.
We'll send 2 snow machine teams in, one from Jack Mack, one from McCoy Creek, and have this helicopter search the track area.
The snowmobilers could be injured or suffering from hypothermia, so John and the heli team are concerned to find thick fog hanging over the search area. Then the heli team spots members of the rescue party below. They've traced a set of tracks from the day before, and now hope to pinpoint where the lost snowmobilers are stuck.
We finally get in the drainage, one of the 2 drainages we think they might be in. The light has gotten good, the cloud layer is lifted. As we're coming up canyon, we see some smoke up near the head of this canyon and make our way that way.
And that's when the heli team spots the lost riders. They are stuck in a steep canyon and appear to be struggling with one of the sleds.
Heli to ground crew, we have a visual.
John studies the difficult terrain from above and prepares himself for what he'll find when the heli lands.
Just kind of wondering if we're going to be dealing with any injury or anything medical. You know, are these guys really in trouble, or have they just spent the night? So obviously, there's always a bit of adrenaline going.
When the 2,700-pound heli lands in soft, deep snow, it sinks. This shortens the distance between the spinning rotor overhead and the snow surface below. So to avoid the blades, crew members use a specialized exit maneuver.
Some of us on the team call it the badger crawl, just to get as far away from the rotors as we can.
Happily, the rescuers come upon a best-case scenario. The snowmobilers are uninjured, and they've repaired their snowmobile enough to ride out. but they're unsure of which direction to go.
We made contact with the two lost snowmobilers and find out that they're healthy. They've just spent the night out. They had a big fire. One snowmobile isn't really operating that well, and having spent the night and spent, I think, a good portion of the evening trying to get out of there, they're wanting to kind of end their ordeal, I guess, without too much strain.
Back at Incident Command, word of the snowmobiler's condition is relayed to the team.
We're able to locate the missing party. Luckily, they're all okay, just cold and tired. And right now, the helicopter is helping them navigate the best route out back to the trailhead, because the route they went in was pretty technical and challenging to get back out. So right now, we're waiting for everyone to come back to the trailhead.
With the heli crew's help, the rescuers and lost snowmobilers find their way out. So Jess and the rest of the team head back to the hangar.
Well, we just finished a rescue and we were just putting all the gear away and we just shut the doors, put the aircraft in, and we were all standing around debriefing, and lo and behold, we get another call.
It's another snowmobiler in trouble, but this time it's a 13-year-old boy with a serious leg injury.
Let's get it going.
After rescuing two lost snowmobilers, the Teton County Search and Rescue volunteer team looks forward to winding down at the hangar. But then another call comes in. This time, it's a 13-year-old snowmobiler with a broken femur up on Togety Pass.
You call in. Let me get everybody rounded up.
We have another rescue, so.
So once again, the community is relying on Jess's team to swoop into the backcountry by land and air. Leading the snowmobile crew is expert rider Flip Tucker.
24/7. We're always on call. We don't get days off. That's why we have 40 members to take care of that.
We have so many people here. We've got enough here.
Today, Flip's job is to provide backup support for the heli. And if he's lucky, he'll get to ride to the scene of the rescue.
K-Trail. Alex, grab a map of the Togety area. That's always been a thing, so we always try to be contact with the patient. And it's hard to do sometimes when you got the choppers.
Flip's ground team arrives at the trailhead just as the heli spots the injured rider from the air. Back at the hangar, Jess monitors all communications and learns the situation is growing increasingly urgent.
The patient advises he's in a lot of pain.
Guides from nearby Togety Mountain Lodge are on scene and have the boy stabilized, but they still need help moving him. The boy is surrounded by friends and family. Rescuers on scene organize the group so they can carry him smoothly over the snow. This is important because with a broken femur, the jagged end of the bone can nick an artery if jostled and cause serious internal bleeding.
Just going to kind of try to level him out and straighten him out.
Time is running short. They need to get the boy out of the backcountry and into the ambulance waiting back at the highway.
When the chopper picks up and is headed towards the ambulance, I feel a huge sense of relief. I mean, I don't feel like the job is done until the helicopter's back here at the hangar and my team is back here safely.
Then, shortly after wrapping up this incident, another emergency call comes in. 3 in one day. A new record.
3 in one day, huh?
I need to figure out who I've got.
Backcountry Zero. A campaign to reduce fatalities in the backcountry. It's time to heighten our awareness about safety. It's time for zero. The exhaustion of 2 rescues in one day is starting to set in. Everyone is looking forward to the end of this day. But there will be no rest for the weary just yet. Because now, a record-setting 3rd call is coming into search and rescue.
You, Anthony, and Flip, is that all I have left?
A backcountry skier with a blown knee is stranded at a yurt perched along the remote Commissary Ridge.
Here's Targhee.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. This is Commissary Ridge across the way.
This kind of injury should require a simple patient evacuation, but the way this day is going, the team is prepared to stay the night in the backcountry if necessary.
When we get call-outs like that, if it's nuts sometimes, we can go 3 weeks without something, then bang, 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 we'll have three in a row. First time that I've ever had 3 calls in 10 years I've been doing this, 3 calls in one day. That's why I'm trying to get my team ready to go.
For the 3rd time today, Flip races out.
We've officially requested snowmobiles and the helicopter, correct?
The crew will make short work of this rescue if they can find a clear place to land. Without a good landing zone, this could turn into an ordeal. So with other teammates exhausted from the marathon string of calls, Tim hops aboard the heli to lead field operations.
Yeah, if you guys get there first, that would be great.
We have a woman that has a pretty serious knee injury on the other side of the county again, in completely opposite direction.
The snow is 6 feet deep on top of Commissary Ridge. Lucky for the team, friends of the injured skier stomp out a landing zone. That way the heli won't get bogged down in the snow.
Can I get a helicopter to come into the LZ?
As Tim approaches the patient, he sees that it's a familiar face.
Turns out I know these folks.
Yep, you're screwing off instead of working, huh? That's what we get.
Here's our Monday.
Sorry, Tim.
And they're staying at a backcountry yurt and skiing up there, and snow conditions are pretty bad. He blew up a knee or a leg during one of the runs during the day.
I'm great. Yeah,
You can move that now?
like this or no, the knee? No.
A little bit more. And we'll call it.
Once the leg is protected, Tim brings the skier to the heli.
This is to the fireman carry.
All the folks are back, and they're back with their loved ones, alive and well. But it's just a good day for all of us. We're really, really proud to help our community.
I love working at the hangar by myself and getting things organized and fixing gear, but it's way more fun when the whole team is here and we're actually doing what we train for. I mean, that's just awesome. It doesn't get better than that.
Teton Sheriff's locations. Ski Patrol are requesting our assistance for this out-of-bound area avalanche, possibly 2 people in it. One person was on top of the debris. They were in voice contact with Ski Patrol. He's reporting his 2 friends are missing.
There was an avalanche in the southern backcountry of Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. We're probably in some pretty steep terrain with some cliff bands. And so we started rolling really fast.
Everybody ready? We're pushing it to try and get people out there safely. 30 minutes is ideal to dig somebody up. We need to haul ass.
They call it the shoulder season. Quiet times in spring and fall, in between the busy winter and summer deluge of tourists into Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's a sleepy time, silent as a church on Monday, when there's only a trickle of visitors in town. Locals can still claim the rivers and trails for themselves. For Jackson residents like Jamie Yount, this is a time to downshift and enjoy a less hectic pace.
I live a normal life in the summertime, which is great. So I work like steady hours, I don't get unexpected phone calls, and I don't have to get up at 1 in the morning.
This time of year, Jamie gets the town's climbing wall all to himself.
It's nice, my favorite part of Jackson right here.
The climbing wall is where locals build muscle, stamina, and knowledge for choosing your routes wisely. Something Jamie has done since he climbed the Grand Teton as a kid.
Always enjoyed it, and it's a really challenging sport. Like being out in the mountains in the summertime and getting up high. So climbing's kind of a big part of the search and rescue, and that climbing background just rolls right into that.
This controlled space remains Jamie's retreat. The wall is a gravity-powered human chessboard where climbers can both relax and sharpen problem-solving skills.
So it's really nice, because in the wintertime, I'll work holidays, I'll work weekends, I'll work nights, I'll work mornings. I'll work whenever it snows.
In winter, Jamie does avalanche control work.
I'm an avalanche technician for the Wyoming Department of Transportation.
Which means Jamie is a bomb thrower.
Some sort of explosion is the best way to initiate an avalanche. That's really the industry standard, is some sort of explosive detonation. There's a lot of ways to achieve that. You can use a howitzer or artillery. You can use hand-delivered explosives. You could use a helicopter to deploy explosives. We use gas exploders that we detonate gas that makes an explosion.
Jamie once relied on his marksmanship with a howitzer. Now he triggers avalanches with the click of a mouse, using a device called an obelix. A helicopter places it on mountainside pedestals, and this thing that looks like a droid from Star Wars triggers controlled avalanches throughout the winter. Inside are tanks of hydrogen and oxygen. When combined, in short blasts, the gases combust, sending out a shock wave strong enough to safely initiate controlled slides.
So we're down here in Hoback Canyon. We're gonna do some avalanche reduction work here for the highway. It's rugged terrain, it's really steep, it's really inhospitable. Even if you go up there in the summer, it's full of loose rock, fallen trees. It's just awful terrain. It's terrible. It's north facing, it's dark, it's cold, it produces a lot of avalanche activity.
Jamie works with a helicopter to pluck the obelix off its mountaintop perch in Hoback Canyon. At the staging area nearby, Jamie and his crew reload it with full tanks of hydrogen and oxygen, always making sure there are no unwanted leaks.
10-4, we'll get her rigged. The smallest little leak, we'd lose all our gas, and then we'd have to go through this whole process again, because we're basically going to turn it on, you know, and fly it up on the mountain and leave it for the winter. We monitor these, not quite daily, but pretty consistently through the winter, and so when we connect to it remotely, we can get our gas pressures. So looking good. She'll set down, and then I'll get the ship rigged. So we'll get the long line out and hook it up to our grabber, hook it back up, fly back up, ready to go.
Search and rescue pilot Nicole Ludwig flies the obelix back to its trigger zone at the top of Hoback Canyon. That's where she sets it down on the pedestal, which becomes ground zero for multiple blasts over the winter. She then makes another pass to double check it's secured and ready for firing.
We normally circle just to confirm that it's right behind the ridgeline of the Tetons. So we do need like a good weather day and somewhat calmer winds to actually be able to place the explosives where we need to place them.
Nicole confirms the obelix is ready, then flies away from the scene. Down on the highway, a crew closes the road while Jamie prepares to push the button and trigger the obelix remotely.
I've already logged in, I'm connected, and basically getting ready to push the button here and make a boom, and then we'll see what we get for results and get on with our day. Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! This technology is perfect for the terrain. Bigger boom, bigger shockwave, better result. It makes the job a lot more efficient. You push the button and you get a big avalanche to the highway, and that's a lot of work that went into that one moment. And so it's exciting. Every winter is different. Every winter presents some sort of new challenge. You never know what you're going to get, so we gear up for every winter like it's going to be the worst one we've ever seen. And search and rescue, a big part of what we do is avalanche related.
The backcountry around Jackson is mostly uncontrolled. It's a huge zone of high consequences where avalanches can trigger in so many places. It's impossible to eliminate the danger. So Jackson Hole Mountain Resort clearly marks its exits. Inbounds, the ski area is like a climbing wall, a mostly safe simulation of the backcountry. But just out of bounds, in what is called the side country, danger looms. That's why Jackson Hole Ski Patrol works closely with Search and Rescue.
This here is Jackson Hole Mountain Resort, and gets hit pretty heavily with backcountry skiers getting avalanche, clipped out. So that's our hot spot. Backcountry is not always awesome. It definitely can be pretty punishing in the wrong circumstances. So going out of bounds at Jackson Hole, you definitely need to have a plan. You need to have a partner. You need to have the right equipment. You need to know where you're going.
The ski area is closely surrounded by the most demanding slopes in North America. It's where the best alpine athletes come to test themselves. There's Granite Canyon in the shadow of the Grand Teton, and there's Ralph's Slide, named for Ralph Toscano Jr., a tourist visiting from Oregon who was killed here in an avalanche in 2001.
Teton Ski Patrol are requesting our assistance for this out-of-bound area avalanche, possibly 2 people in it.
Now it appears history is repeating itself as Search and Rescue is called back to Ralph's Slide. This time, there's a survivor yelling for help.
One person was on top of the debris. They were in voice contact with Ski Patrol. He's reporting his 2 friends are missing. Ski Patrol are requesting our assistance for this out-of-bound area avalanche, possibly 2 people in it. One person was on top of the debris. They were in voice contact with Ski Patrol. He's reporting his 2 friends are missing.
The call comes in from just outside the boundaries of Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. A backcountry guide spots a man clinging to a tree. His 2 friends are buried in a debris field below. And as the skier who escaped the avalanche tries to slowly traverse down the slope, the guide who spotted the slide and others on scene rush to search for his buried friends. Back at the hangar, Jess King takes over as incident commander for this rapid response heli mission.
So I know so far that we've got the location.
The team is headed back to Ralph's Slide, a rescue hot zone and scene of at least 1 fatal avalanche.
So we got a call from dispatch that there was an avalanche in the southern backcountry of Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. There were avalanche victims buried beneath the snow. And so we started rolling really fast. I was wondering if you have a GPS coordinate of where this guy is.
The plan is to fly in, provide medical assistance to anyone dug out of the avalanche debris by those already on scene, and evacuate the 1 known survivor. And John Weedy is the heli specialist assigned to the mission. Weedy is not only a veteran search and rescue volunteer, He's also an avalanche survivor, living to tell the tale of what it's like to be entombed in snow.
I guess having been buried before, I know how little time you have. I think I personally was out of air in about 3 minutes. When you start to hyperventilate or whatever, and you start to see colors and stuff, thinking, whoa, there's my air.
John carries the memory of his burial to every rescue like this, bringing an extra sense of urgency to the heli crew as it rolls out. But bad weather is moving in. John and the heli team head to Ralph's Slide as quickly as possible to evacuate survivors. But the approaching storm may make it too dangerous to land near the rescue scene.
Helicopters like wind, but not too much wind, so we're concerned about the flying conditions.
It's a short 6-minute flight to the scene. Anyone buried could still be alive. The winds gusting around the rescue area are choppy, but manageable. So the heli sets down a quarter-mile downhill from where at least 2 skiers are reportedly buried. But there's also one known survivor who is now making his way toward the heli landing zone.
I do see that it was a significant slide path and crown.
John heads for the one spotted survivor, while others who've been on scene since witnessing the avalanche rush to help.
Hurry up, over here, over here. Dig here, dig right here.
Three skiers skied in from the top of an infamous avalanche zone called Ralph's Slide, and now 2 are buried. Thankfully, bystanders and the ski patrol swoop in to dig like mad and hope those caught in the slide are still alive.
Dig here, dig right here.
Jackson Hole Mountain Resort Ski Patrol is on the scene, and they're requesting assistance to find these persons and possibly evacuate.
Avalanche survivor John Weedy goes in search of the one skier who avoided the slide. Jess King relocates incident command to the base of the ski area and waits for more details from the field.
Avalanche forecast today warned people to not ski in steep wind-loaded terrain. I don't know exactly what shot they were in, but my guess is they were probably in some pretty steep terrain with some cliff bands. So pretty high risk given the avalanche conditions.
The heli team continues to monitor the increasingly sketchy flying conditions while it waits for John to locate the one known survivor.
Our weather is a little iffy, so there's a concern there. The ceiling, as we call it, seems to be a little low in terms of visibility getting into that particular canyon. I believe the winds are kind of funky in there as well. It's kind of a bowl-shaped area, so they're not consistent. A little bit of snow in the area also, and flat light, I think, as well. So a lot of different factors coming into this potential rescue.
On John's way uphill, he meets the one known survivor and part of the rescue team on their way out. They've dug up one of the avalanche victims, who sadly did not make it.
I got skins on. You guys want me to tow? You know, but it might be easiest just to come in.
Shovels and poles keep digging and probing into the avalanche debris, hopeful they can pull out a survivor. Back at the heli, John prepares to fly at least one person out. That is, if the winds don't pick up.
A lot of people aren't too familiar how to move around a ship, so it's nice to have a rescuer or a team member bring them back, get them in the ship properly. So that's my first contact, is as I take him from ski patrol and get him back so we can get him back to the parking lot.
The man just learned at least one of his friends is dead.
He's pretty shooken up. I think he's in a bit of shock and just trying to figure out what to do next.
John Weedy and the heli team must brave dangerous flying conditions to get an avalanche survivor off the mountain. John once survived an avalanche. Now he comforts the man as bad news from the scene comes in. Both his companions, who were caught in the slide, did not make it.
We sent in the helicopter to drop off some of our SAR volunteers with the hopes of being able to also transport the patients out. Unfortunately, 2 of the 3 died in the avalanche. The 3rd was able to save himself, but sadly the other 2 didn't make it.
He's pretty shooken up and is pretty amazed that he's alive, given the fact that his 2 friends have not made it through the incident. I think he's in a bit of shock. He was just looking for a hand to hold, I think, and getting somewhere safe. I've been through an incident similar to that in the past, and looking at the scene and what he went over and went through and the fact that he just walked away from it, yeah, I'd want to contact with somebody just to sort of ground me a little bit. You know, we go through things afterwards if we've seen some bad stuff, but we don't typically train for how to deal with a survivor. I think it's just being a person and understanding that somebody needs a hand.
John hands off the survivor for a checkup by medical staff. There is nothing more search and rescue can do. 2 skiers lost their lives by venturing into avalanche country. Unfortunately, this is part of search and rescue's job. They must shake it off and be ready for the next rescue mission. Less than 2 weeks after losing 2 skiers just outside the ski area boundary, Jess assists volunteer Jamie Yount in the heli on a bombing mission. This time, it's about creating a safe place to hold the National Powder 8's competition.
For the past few weeks, we've been trying to get out and do some work with Jackson Hole Mountain Resort Ski Patrol to bomb the Powder 8 slope in preparation for the Powder 8's competition. The goal is to try and reduce the avalanche hazard to the skiers participating in the competition this weekend.
The National Powder 8s are done in Jackson Hole for many years, and because it's our 50th year anniversary, we're looking to, bring back some of the old hype. It's in an area outside of the gates. It's a really neat venue. We can do 20-some teams doing, the Powder 8 thing, the synchronized skiing, and but it's also in an area that doesn't see any avalanche reduction methods.
The venue for the Powder 8s is just one of many infamous avalanche zones just outside the ski area boundary.
It's a hard thing to say how to measure success, but we have an avalanche and count that as a failure.
Permit, target 0. Avalanche crest, target 4.
We work really closely with Ski Patrol to make sure that guests at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort know about the backcountry, the risks that are involved with entering that backcountry, but also how to call search and rescue if they need us.
But no one will need search and rescue today. The return of the Grand National Powder 8's competition to Jackson Hole Mountain Resort as part of its 50th anniversary is a reminder of how teamwork and awareness can keep everyone safe in the backcountry.
9:28, we had a board call for a teenage girl with a spinal injury.
She hit the gas instead of the brake, which is a pretty common mistake for novice snowmobilers. She needs advanced medical care.
Clearly had gone off a probably 40, 50-foot cliff.
A lot of blood on her face, neck and back pain. Her helmet was shattered.
Hey guys!
Though it's snow, and plenty of it, that put Jackson Hole on the map, each year as the seasons change and the Earth moves around the sun, that famous snow finally melts. As it does, the valley's creeks and rivers explode with the runoff, charging out of the mountains as whitewater rapids. The result? World-class fly fishing, rafting, and kayaking that is just as legendary as the Teton's jagged skyline. As the mountains drain, they lure in the whitewater obsessed. Locals like Teton County Search and Rescue volunteer John Weedy. Weedy, as he's known by his teammates, believes that with all this whitewater comes great responsibility. To look out for others on the river and keep the backcountry safe.
My mother always emphasized volunteering, so that was one way that I could get into giving back to my community. That's, this is my home, so I feel sort of compelled to contribute.
In Jackson, Weedy has forged a career path common among mountain town locals across the Rockies. He uses work as a means to fund the next adventure, and the next adventure is never far away. Over the years, he's gone through just about every job in Jackson.
I don't often have very much money, but I have a lot of fun and I have a lot of great experiences. I've come to the conclusion that I joined this team for a reason, and I just make it more of a priority that when that phone rings, I drop what I'm doing, because generally what I'm doing isn't as important as helping somebody out because there's a reason they called. That's been like the biggest change for me, I'd say.
Today, Weedy's whitewater experience will be center stage as the whole team meets on the banks of the raging Hoback River for an important but dangerous training exercise. Weedy's mission? To direct the team as it simulates the recovery of someone trapped in the river. It has to set a traverse line across the water, then maneuver a pontoon boat to a designated rescue site.
Weedy makes it work because he enjoys taking from it what he can, what he's earned, what he deserves. At the same time, he puts a ton back into it.
First, Weedy sets the traverse line by ferrying his kayak across the current, a critical whitewater rescue skill.
You need a certain amount of training and understanding of water to do it safely. There's a lot of gear involved. Depending on what level of water you're on in terms of difficulty, it's scary and it's powerful and it's unrelenting. It's just not for everybody.
On the opposite shore, Chris Lee and his team weigh in, working the ropes to overcome the force and violence of the river.
If you don't have respect for the water, if you don't have respect for the snow, if you don't have respect for the mountains, you're in trouble.
The pontoon boat is almost there. Time for the ropes team to steer it to shore.
On 3, 1, 2, 3.
My role on the team is just being a longer running member and maybe some more experience with how everything works on the team, but that's sort of evolving from time to time.
Success. Weedy's crew executes the simulated rescue and gathers for a debrief.
That's why we have a lot of gear and a lot of people and a lot of training to utilize all our resources.
He spent all weekend training us in swift water, and he spent a lot of time preparing to train us ahead of time.
I think we're very tight-knit at this point. Even the new members on the team, I think can probably feel that. We're always looking out for each other, and that's, it's really comforting in my mind. Like, I enjoy that. I can always call up on these people if I'm in need, and they'll help me out.
Year-round, the hangar operates as the hub for both practice and live missions. The team trains twice a month and might go for weeks without getting an emergency call-out. But in March, when spring breakers flood the snowy landscape, Search and Rescue's phone starts ringing.
Went over a cliff, difficulty breathing, unconscious.
Well, we're all here, so did we get any details about this? Should we get the ship going?
The call comes in from Granite Creek, a popular place to tour the backcountry on snowmobiles. A 14-year-old girl reportedly crashed, and given the power and speed of most sleds, the team expects her injuries to be severe.
We have gotten a report that she's in the creek, so that adds a little bit of urgency.
Due to the severity of the injuries, the team is trying to get the patient out of the backcountry in less than 90 minutes.
Don't worry about it, we got this covered. Thanks. Yep, bye.
A 14-year-old girl reportedly sails off a cliff on a snowmobile and is now seriously injured. So rescue coordinator Jess King dispatches her team into the backcountry.
Not that far up, only a quarter mile up the road. We just got a call. We got a page from dispatch for an injured female snowmobiler near Granite Creek.
Went over a cliff, difficulty breathing, unconscious.
We don't know a whole lot about her other than that she has a possible spinal injury. So that is a serious medical injury that we want to make sure to get to quickly.
My medical opinion would be the helicopter would be better versus a bumpy if they're saying that it's a possible spinal.
Were we in the 2500?
Yes.
She might have ridden her snowmobile into the creek, so she might be not only cold, but wet and cold. So we're concerned about hypothermia.
Most injuries in the backcountry to the head, neck, or spine are potentially lethal on their own. Hypothermia speeds up the ticking clock by further weakening the patient's body.
Flip is getting the 2500 together.
I'll be your heli ops, how's that?
Sounds good.
That's why the team is trained to execute what's known as a rapid response swoop and scoop, using the helicopter and snowmobiles.
A swoop and scoop is probably best.
Their goal? To reach, package, and retrieve the patient in under 90 minutes.
This is a classic swoop and scoop. We have got a patient, she's injured, and we just take the helicopter, fly out there, grab her, and transport her back to a waiting ambulance.
This is where Jess usually coordinates all the moving parts of a rescue, from incident command at the hangar. But that's a routine she's looking to shake up. So when there's a chance to join in, Jess jumps at the opportunity.
But I'm off, so technically I can't go unless I transfer off to someone.
You want me to do ops?
I would love for you to do off. She hit the gas instead of the brake, which is a pretty common mistake for novice snowmobilers. She needs advanced medical care fast. I'm gonna get dressed.
Cody is a heli specialist, but this time he's not flying. That frees up a seat for Jess in the chopper.
Weedy. Yes. You okay, snowmobile? Sure.
Lizzie on a call.
Yeah. Okay.
Weedy seizes the chance to make good on his personal commitment to answering more calls. He pitches right in with Flip and the snowmobile team.
We have gotten a report that she's in the creek, Granite Creek, so that adds a little bit of urgency, certainly, to injury, hazard to rescuers, hazards to herself.
We're rolling.
Jess and the heli crew prepare for liftoff. The plan, to zip over the mountains directly to the rescue scene, where they will rendezvous with Weedy and the snowmobile team.
Ops, this is SR62. Do you copy?
This is Cody.
Hey, Cody, this is Weedy.
Can you tell the follow-up snowmobile team to bring a warming kit and a BLS?
I got it.
Weedy and Flip make a solid team. Flip is the most experienced snowmobile specialist, and many years of riding sleds to access ski terrain have turned Weedy into a strong rider. You have to be skilled these days because the newest sleds come packed with so much power. It's easy for a novice to get into trouble. And according to initial reports coming in from the crash scene, that's what happened here.
You ride way more than I do, but get in the back seat on one of those sleds and then your thumb just hits that throttle, it's taking off. Crazy.
And that's what happens with an inexperienced rider when they get into trouble and lose control and ground.
Jess and the chopper team are right behind Weedy and Flip, racing to the scene where the patient may have landed in the creek. With the snowmobile team on the road and the heli crew in the air, Teton County Search and Rescue is hitting this emergency with everything it has.
What's going through my mind is that she's cold, she's in the water. We need to make sure that we get her out of the water.
With a young snowmobiler injured and possibly hypothermic, volunteers from Jackson Hole are heading to the scene to execute a Swoop and Scoop rescue.
There's a hurt woman on a snowmobile in Granite Creek. She apparently had an accident where she ran off the trail and rolled her snowmobile into the creek. That's the first indication of what we heard today.
The heli crew swoops and the sled team scoops. Everyone is needed to help transport the patient off the snow and into the chopper.
So there's definitely a strong relationship between injury and cold. Our environment is cold, but when you're injured, a lot of your body's energy goes into taking care of that injury. No matter what day of the year it is, no matter what time of day it is, we're always worried about our patients being cold. Our plan will be that I'm the heli manager, so I'll be sitting up front. We've got Chris in the back, and we're gonna start making a plan as to how to approach the patient, package the patient. We're gonna talk about if we need to move her out of the river, how we're gonna do that. We wanna make sure to start getting our heat packs warming so that when we get there, they're already hot and ready to package on her.
Chris has eyes on the crash scene, and it doesn't look good. Even from the air, they can see what happened.
It clearly had gone off a probably 40, 50-foot cliff.
As the heli prepares to land as close to the patient as possible, Weedy and Flip roll up at the snowmobile trailhead and coordinate with the pilot.
Yeah, we just saw you. What's it look like up there?
So, I don't know what exactly she did, but she definitely didn't go into the creek. She went off of the cliff.
So we get down to Granite Creek, make sure everybody's on board where we're going.
Nicole has gotten down there as an initial responder. So is there pretty good access for your team there?
Yeah, we land like 20 yards away from her.
All right, we'll talk to, I think the reporting party is right here, and the sheriff. Maybe get you up there in a minute. Are you reporting party?
Yes.
She was conscious?
She was conscious.
Is there somebody up there?
Yeah, the guide, Christian is his name, he's there with her now. And there's like 3 snow machines pulled off to the side of the trail, so you'll know where to go in.
Okay, thank you.
As Weedy gets critical info, Flip wastes no time readying the sleds, while Chris and the team's paramedic prepare for the worst. The hours of training now pay off, as Flip and his team expertly form up the sleds to head into the backcountry.
Yeah, we got a bit of adrenaline going just to see what's on scene and what's happened down there. You know, again, it's relatively close to the parking lot, so chances are it's not too bad, but you never know what you're gonna find on scene.
With no time to waste, the sleds rip down the trail as other snowmobilers pull to the side to let them pass.
So the helicopter crew, we got hands-on with the patient. Just at that moment, I look up and I see the STAR team coming over the crest of the hill with their jackets on and their snowmobiles. It was awesome because we knew they could come and help us transport that patient under the rotor wash into the helicopter, that's just great. It's really wonderful to see them.
Now on scene, the sled team learns a disturbing detail about this crash.
Yeah, her helmet was broken into a couple pieces.
If the impact was strong enough to shatter the helmet, the team worries about injuries to the young rider's head. Backcountry Zero, a campaign to reduce fatalities in the backcountry. It's time to heighten our awareness about safety. It's time for Zero. A 14-year-old snowmobiler sustains terrible injuries after sailing off a cliff, shattering her full-faced helmet on impact. So for the team, it's a dash to get the patient out of the backcountry in under 90 minutes.
She had a jaw fracture possibly, but she took a hit.
It takes 1,100 pounds of pressure to fracture the human skull. It's unclear how much force is delivered to the girl's helmet, but it's a lot.
Those helmets are designed for a lot of impact, and she broke it.
It's been a little over an hour since the call-out, so the team is cutting it close if it wants to execute a swoop and scoop rescue in under 90 minutes.
So the helicopter crew, we got hands-on with the patient. We packaged her into the vacuum mattress, got some heat packs on her, doing the full medical assessment.
She's actually already packaged in a litter, so we come in, we lend a hand to bring her over there.
The ground assault on the scene by Weedy and the rest of the sled team really pays off. Now the patient is just a short flight away from the advanced medical care her injuries will require.
Snowmobile teams are headed out and back to the hangar.
We are flying back from the scene and we fly into the hangar and we can see that the ambulance is there, the STAR team is there to support us. It's really great to have all that support.
The ambulance is there at the hangar because it can provide a higher level of care on the way to the hospital.
She basically had been on the road and sort of got in the back seat on the snowmobile, and when you do that, your hand goes on the throttle, and then you just kind of get pinned in that mode. And she had gone straight off the bank, and she must have been moving pretty quick. Really professional, all hands on deck, had all the resources we needed if anything were to go the direction we weren't thinking it was gonna. Kind of a clockwork rescue.
Rather simple rescue, you know, like it was easy to get there because of the weather was nice. We could fly straight over the mountains.
But I think it was quick, it was good.
Cool. All right, thanks everybody.
A group of friends was supposed to be back from a trip to the Darby Ice Caves. They're not back yet.
I want a fast team, a follow-up team with more gear, and a third team with big gear and a backup. We're concerned that they're dying.
Hey guys! This thing starts flooding. Get up high.
This may not be a good thing.
Hey guys, can you talk to it?
Jackson Hole, Wyoming, the most exclusive destination in the Rockies. It's America's front door to the Tetons, where inspiring peaks and record-breaking big game are just part of the appeal. All that's appealing about Jackson is summed up in local real estate prices. They remain staggeringly high. Because of its natural beauty and limited private land, Jackson Hole is one of the most coveted real estate markets in the entire country. So putting down roots here means spending $2 million on a home that might go for $250,000 in other parts of Wyoming. For many who want to buck up and buy in, this is the man to see. Tim has owned a construction business since the 1970s, building luxury homes for Jackson Hole's wealthiest residents.
Ah, this is the fun one. It's gonna be really cool, a little house in a guest house. It was the joke of a long time. The millionaires were chased out of town by the billionaires, and that was back in the 80s. And the net worth of some of these residents that come in here and build second homes and or first homes to stay here is pretty substantial.
Tim's clients are demanding. So his work requires a fanatical eye for detail, a skill that makes him perfectly suited to his second life as the longtime chief advisor to Teton County Search and Rescue.
I have to say I'm pretty type A in controlling. I've been incident commander a lot. I've been here a long time. The team just listens to me. I don't really have to say much. They be quiet, they listen to me, and we move on.
Ready to go? Well, years ago in 1992 in the fall, there was an ad in the paper for volunteers to apply to be on a search and rescue team. The person that was the leader of the team led for about 2 years, and then he moved up to become the undersheriff at the sheriff's department. And immediately we realized we needed a leader because we were starting to have organizational issues, and I went into his office and I said, you know, we need to have a leader. And he says, great, you're it. And once I was chosen, I never looked back.
Today, Tim is on his way to be among old friends as he helps oversee a joint training exercise between SAR and 2 other rescue teams, the Jackson Hole Mountain Resort Ski Patrol and rangers with Grand Teton National Park. The mission? To practice patient evacuation from an exposed mountain ledge.
I'm coordinating 2 ground rescue teams of search and rescue folks. We're putting everybody in the field now. The first order of business is to get our short haulers inserted near the snow border.
The heli shuttles people and gear up to the training area. That's where volunteers Cody Lockhart and Dr. A.J. Wheeler walk ski patrol through the do's and don'ts of helicopter evacuations.
I haven't been told that I'm flying or not, okay? AJ. You're going out second flight out?
Using a stretcher roped into what's called a short haul line that extends from the bottom of the heli. This simulates a real rescue, with Tim practicing his role as incident commander, giving orders by radio.
Hey, T1, IC, go ahead and make a plan and get back to me what your mode of extraction is, and let me know and what I need to do down here for your support.
We do have our patient packaged in a suck bag. And at this point, I think just a Bowman bag would work.
The litter is the stretcher used to stabilize the patient, and the Bowman bag wraps the person up in order to shield them from the wind and cold.
The litter in the Bowman bag, they basically have a sled attached to them, needing someone to grab a hold of them.
I won't lose you. You comfy?
Yep. Okay. 5-0.
5-0.
Copy 5-0.
Then I'd say.
The decision was made to short haul John and myself in with the litter to help extract the victim.
It's standard procedure for the rescue team member to be harnessed with the patient during a short haul rescue. The team, made up of park rangers, ski patrollers, and SAR volunteers, executes a flawless extraction, flying 2 crew members and a patient in the litter off the ridgetop and down to the landing zone.
Good job on that rescue, guys. Keeping it safe. It was really good. Well done. See you down the bottom.
Teton County Search and Rescue often trains on Saturdays. And because weekends are when more people explore the backcountry, it's not uncommon for a training session to end with a call out for a real rescue.
911, where's your emergency?
I'm calling to report that a group of friends was supposed to be back from a trip to the Darby Ice Caves, and they're not back yet.
This time, the call comes in from Idaho, on the other side of the Tetons from where the team is winding down its ridgetop training. Not only is this rescue alert coming from the opposite side of the mountains, it's also in a place totally unlike where the team spent the day.
When we get a call on a cave rescue, the urgency is extremely high there.
So the issue is, what do we do with training? We need every single person here to get them out, so we need to go.
Because this call is for 3 missing hikers who were last seen headed for the Darby Ice and Wind Caves, which means they could be lost underground.
The scenarios are, they're just late and they're post-holing out. An avalanche is a likelihood, or they could be hurt.
The hikers might be injured or suffering from hypothermia. So Tim leads the team to gather what it needs to race over the mountains where the road ends and a difficult trail into the backcountry begins.
Hypothermia is a real threat, and that's what our ticking time bomb is if we can just get to these guys quick enough.
Teton County Search and Rescue veteran leader and volunteer Tim Carlin takes over as incident commander, mobilizing the team to go in search of 3 hikers lost somewhere in the area of the Darby Ice and Wind Caves.
They know about the cave. As you heard, they're in there chipping the ice plug. They're stuck or lost.
The Darby Ice and Wind Caves are a one-way underground cavern system with an upper and lower entrance that sits on the western side of the Teton crest. That means it's at the edge of SAR's reach and difficult to access. And the longer it takes to get there, the more threat there is to the hikers trapped inside.
We get a call on a cave rescue, it's a really big deal. It's probably our worst case scenario. We're concerned that they're dying.
The team relocates to the trailhead closest to the caves. Tim is in charge, and this is his command post.
I want a fast team, a follow-up team with more gear, and a third team with big gear and a backup.
First thing we do in an incident, we establish the incident command, and then we put a game plan together within the first 3 or 4 minutes. And then we'll have operations, and operations are the folks that are really making the decisions what's going to happen in the field.
Forward operations are run by hasty teams and guided by the best athletes and most skilled survivalists, including Jake Urban, owner-operator of the Jackson Hole Outdoor Leadership Institute.
As a hasty team leader, my role was often making sure that the rest of the members on that team understand what the objectives of our mission are.
But before Jake and the other volunteers head out, Tim gets an aerial surveillance report.
Okay, team, go ahead.
There looks to be evidence of a new slide south of Main Darby.
Now Tim and the team must manage risk before they even get to the cave. But for Jake and the other first responders, risky challenges are part of the appeal. They feel ready for whatever this backcountry might throw at them.
Everyone on this team is a volunteer. Everybody knows what they've signed up for.
As we progress up mountain, it goes from green grass to a little bit of snow, then a lot of snow.
The hasty team locates 3 sets of tracks headed toward the caves, and this leads them through a designated wilderness area.
Well, wilderness areas are tough. A long way back from civilization. They have no roads. Gosh, wildlife, bear, terrain that nobody's really been into.
I'd like to know what you think if they actually did go to the ice cave.
Hasty 1 copies that. We'll continue on.
And we find ourselves being detectives trying to root out all the clues.
Soon the team reaches the first big clue, enabling them to eliminate a possible scenario.
Doesn't he have your inReach? This is their tracks.
Oh, these right here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right here, that's them.
The The tracks lead to the upper entrance of the cave system and not to the lower entrance. So the hikers probably avoided avalanche activity reported near the lower cave entrance by the aerial spotters. Instead, they apparently climbed further, headed for the upper ice cave entry point. This means the hikers could be attempting a demanding through hike of the caverns and might be stuck inside. So the team decides to split up.
What do you guys think about trying to stay in these trees, seeing how it holds up in there?
By entering through the lower exit, Jake's team hopes to take a shortcut to the lost hikers.
All right, are you near or did you already go through the avalanche area?
There is no avalanche on this side of the canyon that would affect them. So we're pretty convinced that they're stuck in there at some point. Hypothermia is a real threat, and that's what our ticking time bomb is if we can just get to these guys quick enough.
Inside the Darby Ice Cave, there is a serious route requiring 6 to 12 hours underground, where spelunkers navigate an area known as the maze. It's full of narrow paths and freezing water. And sometimes this route is blocked when the cave water freezes solid. That's what Tim is worrying about back down at Incident Command.
With any luck, we're gonna just do a short little crawl here.
But there's typically an ice block that builds. A lot of folks don't realize that, so they will go in the ice cave and they work their way down, pull all their ropes off the other drops, and they can't get out.
And that's exactly what Jake's team finds. A plug of rock-hard ice blocking the way. Then, through the ice, they spot lights and guess it's the hikers, trapped after a long, cold night in the cave. All three could be succumbing to deadly hypothermia.
That's his light. He's right. Hey guys! So yeah, turn off your light. After getting to the ice plug, the only way we were able to confirm that they were behind it was we could see light.
Yeah, it's moving. He's right there.
Yeah!
Dude, that's his light.
Is that coming from outside? Hello! We need to get this started. Just go to town.
Watch the shrapnel in your eyes.
Go for the high spot where the light's coming through.
Jake has no way of knowing the thickness of the ice plug, or how desperate a condition the hikers may be in on the other side.
So check it out, they're flashing. Hey guys, can you hear us?
I've seen this pretty thick before in years past. And this could be 20 to 30 foot thick.
In extreme cases, hypothermia can kill in under an hour, with victims becoming delusional or spiraling into a state of hysteria.
He's right, guys! Hello! Hey guys, can you hear us? Hello!
Deep inside the mountains outside Jackson, Wyoming, any place above 8,000 feet can feel like winter all year long. Just below snowline, Incident Commander Tim C.O. Carlin oversees a rescue inside the Darby Ice Cave. He has to decide if he should risk sending in another team from the upper cave entrance.
There's ice falls in the cave, there's vertical shafts, there's water right up to your neck going through passages. It really is a challenge.
It's like he's above us. And you can't really get up there.
They're chopping on the same side we are.
They can see their axe coming down.
A thick ice plug blocks Jake and his team of first responders from making contact with 3 lost hikers trapped for more than 24 hours in this frigid underground wilderness.
Life or death. It's always life or death up here.
Jake leaves the cave to call Tim on the radio and discuss their options.
There are places in the cave that if somebody's hurt, we can't put them on a backboard, and we have no way to get them through some of the crawls. And we know we're going to be underground in damp, cold conditions, right at freezing, 32 degrees, and some water up to our chest. And for 12 to 24 hours minimum, that's an RO moment for me. because not only it's a long way to get there, but we have to find them. We have to get in there. Now by the time we find somebody in the cave, we're wet and cold and tired.
So they're really hesitant about sending a team through.
Tim determines it would be too risky to send in the second team from the upper entrance. That route involves several dangerous rappels, made extra perilous by the icy conditions inside the cave. Tim believes his team has no choice. They must break through the ice.
That's the problem, is that when there are ice plugs, we're never sure how wide they actually are. Sometimes they're pretty simple to chip through. Other times it might take days to cut through it. Yeah. Go for the high spot where the light's coming through and just go to town. Hey guys, can you hear us? Once we began to break through the ice, water started to come out of it.
This thing starts flooding. Get up high.
That may not be a good thing.
Teton County Search and Rescue are chiseling away at a massive ice plug trying to reach 3 lost hikers.
Hey guys, can you hear us? Anytime you're in a cave and water starts pulling in, it's not a very comfortable thought.
Luckily, the meltwater passes, but it raises new questions about the condition of the lost hikers on the other side.
Yo! Yo! Can you see through this hole?
Hey guys, can you talk to us?
Finally, they chop open a porthole so that one of the rescuers can slide through.
Hey, yeah!
And they like what they find on the other side.
What up, boys? My name's Mike.
Ultimately, the party was safe, unhurt, albeit very cold, wet, and tired. Okay, so no medical.
Yeah, we're totally fine.
Let's start rolling, and
you guys all have lights still.
Let's get 2 of us down there.
All right, I got your feet.
Now everyone hustles to get the chilly hikers out into the sunshine.
Sun, if anything, it'll energize us.
I would think that heat's gonna feel good.
Oh, man. Glad you guys got us.
Put in our best folks. They went in there and they know the cave, they know how to, high-angle systems, and they know what to do in that environment.
It's so beautiful.
And the good part, it's a rescue.
When they reach the mouth of the cave, they radio the good news down to Tim.
Good day.
Jake is just naturally a good mountaineer and a good leader, and he was the right guy that day.
I feel like in my previous EMS work, I've saved lives, but the connection you make with people in this environment is unlike any other EMS opportunity that's out there.
Together, Tim and his team savors moments like these. When training, attention to detail, and hard work pay off, and everyone goes home in one piece.